Waldo Emerson, a great American philosopher from the 19th century, wrote, "To laugh often and love much, to win the respect of intelligent persons and the affection of children, to earn the approbation of honest citizens and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to give of oneself, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to have played and laughed with enthusiasm and sung with exultation, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded." There are many heroes in our everyday lives. This is the success story of two such heroes, Herman and Lois Gerber. Ernest Gerber and Martha Wittenbach were both born in Switzerland to well-established Swiss families. Ernest immigrated to America in 1909 at age 24, Martha in 1911 at age 21. Both had relatives already in America. Entertainment of the time consisted of gatherings of family, friends, and other Swiss immigrants. It was during one such gathering Ernest and Martha met. They married on December 19, 1913. Two sons and a daughter were born while Ernest and Martha lived in southern Wisconsin. In 1917, the family moved to northern Wisconsin. Ernest began a cheese factory of his own. Herman was the first child born in Murray. One sister and four brothers were to follow. As a middle child in a growing family, Herman quickly learned to take care of himself. He wasn't afraid to start a fight, and he certainly knew how to end one, a powerful left hook. Herman recalls two childhood pets, an old collie named Shep and a horse named Prince. No one knew where Prince came from. He just showed up on the family farm one day. The Gerber children spoke Swiss, and it wasn't until his older siblings started school that Herman began to learn English. He didn't speak complete English until he started school himself. Herman attended school at the one-room schoolhouse on the property next to the cheese factory. He completed 9 years before deciding he had learned enough to make his way in the world. Herman has been known to tell people he had only a 6th grade education and tell others he had only a 3rd grade education. Herman was kept busy in the family cheese factory and on the family farm. In his late teenage years, he moved to his uncle's farm in Waukesha. There he was responsible for many of the farm chores as well as the cooking. Herman claims to make the best apple and raisin pies in the country. Lois and his children question this claim. In 1941, Herman attended a boxing tournament in Waukesha. He was there as a trainer. One of the tournament organizers approached Herman. They needed another participant in Herman's weight class. Herman won the tournament after beating two opponents, both by knockouts. A professional manager offered Herman a chance to train to box professionally. Herman would have difficulty with transportation from his uncle's farm to train. The manager then arranged a job for Herman at Waukesha Motor Works. This would allow Herman to be in town to train. The job had flexible hours, so Herman could work around his training schedule. Herman was drafted in 1942 before he could begin his professional career. When Herman contacted the same manager after his service discharge, he was told he was too old to start a professional boxing career. Herman entered the service on February 9, 1942, in Company A of the 3rd Armored Division. His basic training was at Camp Polk in Louisiana. His company was transferred to the Mojave Desert to prepare for battle in Africa. When it was determined the company was not needed in Africa, he was transferred to Camp Pickett in South Carolina. Then he was stationed at Indian Farm Gap in Pennsylvania for nearly a year. The company spent an additional year training in England before engaging in combat. The company fought in Germany, France, and Belgium. They were part of the Allied forces that landed at Normandy in June 1944. Herman was assigned to the motor pool and responsible for maintenance of the vehicles, including tanks. Whenever a task force was sent into battle, someone from the motor pool would accompany them. Herman was generally behind the scenes, but knows he was directly shot at on one occasion. He was driving a truck between battles when shot at. He was sure to get a seat in the back of the truck after that. In addition to his assignments in the motor pool, Herman was called on to interpret the wounded German prisoners. The American Armed Forces had a policy of allowing the servicemen to visit the country of their ancestors while they were stationed overseas. Herman told his commanding officer he was from Scotland so he could accompany Bill Cappy on a visit there. Prior to his discharge, though, he requested and was granted a visit to Switzerland. Herman was discharged in September 1945. He reached the rank of T4, the equivalent of sergeant.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. The men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Charles Waite and Coral Shin were both born in Wisconsin, just east of Exlin. Charlie was the great-grandson of Charles Belil, the first white settler in Sawyer County, and Little Round Wind, a Chippewa Indian. Coral's parents were from Iowa. Shortly before Coral's birth, they moved to Sawyer County. They remained in Sawyer County only a few years before returning to Iowa. By the time Coral was a teenager, they had returned to Wisconsin. As with Ernest and Martha, Charlie and Coral met at a gathering of friends and family. Charlie played the drums at many of the dances held in the homes. Charlie and Coral married December 5th, 1927. Lois Waite was born on May 19th, 1928 in a two-room log cabin in Weirgor. She was the oldest of Charlie and Coral's 10 children. The family moved often in the early years as Charlie found employment at a number of different farms. They had settled into their home in Exland by the time Lois was 9. Lois doesn't recall having many toys in childhood. Coral said that when Lois was 4 or 5, someone gave her a little black doll. Lois immediately marched to the furnace and tossed the doll in. She does remember having a set of play dishes, white with blue trim. These were treasured items. The summer that Lois was 9, the Waite children became violently ill. 4 of the children, including Lois, required hospitalization. The youngest daughter, June, did not survive. Someone brought Lois a doll to the hospital. She kept this doll until she had a daughter of her own to pass it on to. Getting an education was not an easy task for Lois. She attended Ruppert School east of Exland in 1st grade. A walk of almost 2 miles was required by the 6-year-old to get to school. By the time Lois started 2nd grade, the family had moved. Lois attended Windfall School, and her walk to school was still over a mile. The family moved for the final time shortly before Lois started 3rd grade. Now she lived in Exland and attended school there. She completed the 8th grade. Lois began working outside the home very young, initially babysitting and cleaning homes of some of the local families. She spent one summer cleaning cabins at a resort on Lost Land Lake near Hayward. She began working as a clerk at the co-op store so young that she needed to get a waiver from the local government. The co-op store was located where Gerber Ford is now. She later worked at Taylor's General Store and then Vanessa's store. In addition to clerking, her tasks included selling feed and accepting and inspecting produce from local farmers. Herman Gerber met Lois Waite at a dance in Imalone. Herman was 26 and Lois 18. When asking her to dance, he introduced himself by saying, "My name is Herman and you know who you are." He asked her to a movie the following weekend. The weather was terrible and the roads impassable. The young couple ended up at a bar instead. Most of their dates were attending local dances or the movies in Ladysmith or Bruce. In September 1946, they left home without telling family or friends. They drove to Fort Dodge, Iowa, and were married in a minister's home. Before returning home, they visited with one of Herman's service buddies. Herman and Lois had 8 children. Gary Allen, the oldest, was born on February 20th, 1948. The hospital nurses called him Cotton Top because of his fuzzy blonde hair. Lois picked the name Gary because she liked it. Herman said he was named after Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse of baseball. Donald Neal, the second child, was born on June 18, 1949. Lois had a number of names picked out for a boy, but Donald was the only one she and Herman could agree on. Marna Lee, the third child and first daughter, was born on November 15, 1950. A close family friend suggested the name. Lois liked it because she wanted her daughter to have an unusual name because she thought girls were special. Jim Edwin, the fourth child, was born on November 13, 1953. It was a Friday the 13th. Gary, who was nearly 6 at the time, named the newest addition to the family. Glenn Patrick, the fifth child, was born on March 17, 1955. Herman dropped Lois off on his way to watch boxing matches in Minneapolis. Though his given name is Glenn, and despite Lois's protests, everyone in Exland called him Pat because he was born on St. Patrick's Day. Mahala Ann, the sixth child and younger daughter, was born on Labor Day, September 1, 1958. Mahala was the name of the wife of one of Herman's service buddies. Mahala was difficult for other children to pronounce and was soon shortened to Halo. Ricky Herman, the seventh child, was born on February 27, 1960. Rick is the only child to be named after his father. David Joseph, the eighth child and baby of the family, was born on November 30, 1963. There is a lot of family controversy over how Dave was named. Some say he was named after the Vitsinda brothers. Others claim his name was chosen off a baseball card. Lois insists she chose the name because she liked it. Joe began to work at Gerber Ford after high school. He once described his relationship with the family as coming to dinner one night and staying 12 years. The other children just thought he was one of the boys. It is no exaggeration to say that baseball would not exist in Exland if not for the efforts and financial support of the Herman Gerber family. Herman began playing organized baseball in Exland as soon as he returned from the service. He was instrumental in organizing the original Exland Braves. Herman played left field and proved a dominating force in the batting lineup. He won the Chevitot Trophy awarded to the best hitter when he batted over .600 one year. After more than 30 years as a Brave, Herman gave way to his sons. He then played for the Murray Old Timers, a team for players over 40. Herman continued to play the game into his 70s. He can still be found in the stand at all of the home games and most of the away games. Herman's fondest baseball memory is of hitting a 3-run home run in a state tournament game in 1963. Exland won the game 3-2. Many of his service buddies were at the game. They met him at second base to run the final 2 bases with him. One Army buddy was flying over the field as Herman hit the ball. Herman was the first inductee in the Exland Baseball Brave Hall of Fame. Herman's sons have carried on the tradition, playing with talent, guts, and determination. The Exland Braves have won a number of Wisconsin Class A baseball tournaments in one AA tournament. Herman's grandsons are carrying on the tradition also, already having won a state championship. While it is fair to say baseball in Exland would not exist without Herman, his sons, and his grandsons, it is even more accurate to say it would not exist without the support of Lois. The countless hours she has spent in the stands pale in comparison to the behind-the-scenes support. She juggled meals and family schedules around games and practices. She arranged or provided transportation to and from games and practices. Lois is proud that none of her sons ever played in a dirty uniform. This all in addition to her other family commitments. Lois received a Lifetime #1 Fan Award in 2001, acknowledging her many sacrifices. It was long overdue.
The Whiz Kids had won it, Bobby Thompson had done it, and Yogi read the comics all the while. Rock and roll was being born, marijuana we would scorn. So down on the corner the national pastime went on trial. We're talking baseball, Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber and the Nuke. They knew 'em all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey and the Duke. Well, Casey was winning, Hank Aaron was beginning, one Robbie going out, one coming in. Kiner and Midget Goodell, the Thumper and Mel Parnell, and Ike was the only one winning down in Washington. I'm talking baseball, Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber and the Duke. They knew 'em all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey and the Duke. Now my old friend, the bachelor, well, he swore he was the Oklahoma Kid, and Cookie played hooky to go and see the Duke. And me, I always loved Willie May. Those were the days. Well, now it's the 80s, and Brett is the greatest, and Bobby Bonds can play for everyone. Rose is at the vet, and Rusty again is a Met, and the great Alexander is pitching again in Washington. I'm talking baseball, like Reggie Quisenberry, We're talking baseball, Carew and Gaylord Perry, Seaver, Garvey, Schmidt, and Vida Blue. If Cooperstown is calling, it's no fluke. They'll be with Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Say hey, say hey, say hey. It was Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Say hey, say hey, say hey. I'm talking Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Say hey, say hey, say hey. Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Say hey, say hey, say hey, say Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Say hey, say hey.
Herman's and Lois's first home was above the lumber building where the grocery store now stands. Gary, Don, and Marna were all born when the couple lived there. Shortly before Jim was born, the family moved into a house across the street from the apartment. That house has since been converted to the Exlin Motel. Jim, Pat, Halo, and Rick all joined the family at this house. The family moved to a ranch house on Highway 48 at the north edge of town in August 1961. Dave was the only child born while the family lived there. The Gerbers remained in this home until all of the children were grown. In the fall of 1983, Lois got her first new home. It was located behind center field of the Exlin baseball diamond. Before the trees grew too tall, they were able to watch the ball games from the front deck. By the mid-1990s, most of the children had homes in the area and were no longer spending the night when they came to visit. It was time to downsize. Herman and Lois moved to their current home, located behind right field, in October 1996. Herman and Lois purchased a cabin on the Chippewa River in 1980. It was close enough for the entire family to use on a regular basis. A number of family picnics were held there. It was a comfortable place for the service buddies to stay when they visited. They sold the first cabin when they purchased a cabin and land from Elmer Aspesetter. They added 2 bedrooms and a bathroom to this cabin. Although closer to Exlin, it was not used as often. They sold it after several years. Beginning in the early 1990s, Herman and Lois began spending 2 months each winter in Florida. Initially, they rented an apartment in Panama City Beach. Bill and Ann Cappy spent the same 2 months there. In the mid-90s, they purchased a vacation home in Zellwood, Florida. It was in a retirement community where one of Herman's service buddies lived. The house proved to be more work and expense than it was worth. After selling the home in Zellwood, they resumed vacationing in Panama City Beach. Herman remained close to many of the men he was in the service with. In the late 1950s, a small group of the men in Illinois began to organize reunions. These started out as Sunday picnics of those living nearby and grew to weekend gatherings of the entire company. The reunions were every other year while the men were working and raising their families. After the men retired and the children left home, the reunions were held annually. The entire Gerber family would attend these events. Travel wasn't easy for a big family. On one such trip, Herman and Lois sat in the front seat with Marna between them. Lois was pregnant with Dave. She and Marna would take turns holding Rick. Halo sat on the floor of the front seat. The 4 oldest boys sat in the back. It was more than a 12-hour ride to Cappy's. There was no stopping for meals. Lunch was a 6-pack of orange pop for the entire family to share and a box of donuts. Herman and Lois hosted 6 of the reunions in Exlin. Lois also worked with Jim Hansen to host a number of the reunions in Aurora, Illinois. Herman started hunting in childhood. It was an activity he has enjoyed his entire life. He never missed a hunting season. He was even known to hunt out of season a time or two. Growing up, the children ate venison year-round. Herman hunts with a Winchester .284 automatic with a Bosch and Loam scope. It has been accurate and dependable for almost 40 years. Herman holds 2 records with the Lone Pine hunting crew. In 1969, Herman shot 7 bucks, the most ever recorded in one season by an individual hunter. His 1973 kill is the biggest buck ever taken by the crew, scoring 163 on the Boone and Crockett scale. Herman is a hunting legend, but there would be no legend if for Lois's support. She dedicated as many hours as Herman did to the hunts. She had his clothes and equipment ready even before he asked. She skinned, butchered, and cooked more venison than most hunters could even imagine in their wildest dreams. Herman passed his passion for hunting down to his sons. He taught them hunting was more than killing animals. It is respect for life and the land. It is being together and working as a team. It is walk in the woods on a quiet fall afternoon. It is a way of life. Christmas 1948 was just Herman, Lois, and Gary, and they were happy, so the tradition began. When the children were home, Lois always made a big turkey dinner for Christmas. One year she served ham and nearly caused a mutiny. The family always attended the church's candlelight service Christmas Eve. They opened the presents after church. Herman would hand out the presents until he found the new harmonica he received each year. He would then lie by the tree and play songs as the boys handed out the remaining presents. Each year one of the boys would get a new Ford Apache set. The traditions didn't change much until the children started to marry. As the family grew, a decision was made to open the presents before church. This allowed the grandchildren to spend time with Herman and Lois and still get home in time to get a good night's sleep. The Gerber family celebration has grown. Wine and snacks are served the afternoon of Christmas Eve. A large turkey dinner is served early in the evening, but not before grace by one of the grandchildren. Jim has taken over passing out the presents, much to the protests of the grandchildren. Christmas Day is quiet at the house as the children celebrate the holiday with their own families.
This family will go on. We will live and love and grow together. Beyond today, across the years, this family is forever.
So lately, been wondering who will be there to take my place when I'm gone. You'll need love to light the shadows on your face. If a great wave shall fall and fall upon us all, then between the sand and stone, could you make it on your own? If I could, then I would. I'll go wherever you will go, way up high or down low. I'll go wherever you will go, and maybe I'll find out a way to make it back someday, to walk you, to guide you through the darkest of your days. If a great wave shall fall and fall upon us all, well, then I hope there's someone out there who can bring me back to you. If I could, then I would. I'll go wherever you go, way up high or down low. I'll go wherever you will go. Run away with my heart, run away with my hope, run away with my love. I know now just quite how my life and love might still go on. In your heart, in your mind, I'll stay with you